Russian-Egyptian relations. Egypt is one of the most authoritative states of the Arab Muslim world, traditionally occupies an important place in the foreign policy of the Russian Federation. Diplomatic relations between the USSR and Egypt were established on August 26 in 1943, against the background of a radical turning point in the Great Patriotic War and in general in World War II, which came with the victory of Soviet troops in the Battle of Stalingrad. Preparations for this important event in the history of bilateral Russian-Egyptian relations were conducted through the USSR ambassador in London, later Deputy People's Commissar of Foreign Affairs Ivan Maisky. He visited Egypt twice, through which transit flights between Moscow and London were carried out in wartime conditions for meetings with Prime Minister Nahas Pasha. During these negotiations, diplomatic messages were exchanged, laying the foundation for the establishment of diplomatic relations. Cooperation between the two sides began with the signing in March 1948 of the first economic agreement on the supply of cotton from Egypt in exchange for grain, timber, and other products from the USSR. In 1955, an agreement was reached on the supply of Soviet weapons. The stage of reconstruction and renewal of the Egyptian armed forces has begun. In 1958, an agreement was signed in Cairo to provide Egypt with economic and technical assistance in the construction of the first stage of the high-rise. So, in the during the 50s and 70s, the USSR provided Egypt with serious assistance in the modernization of the armed forces, helping with weapons, advisors, and specialists. In this way, and it's worth emphasizing that uh, during the 60s and 70s for the Egypt were marked by an acute confrontation with the West. So also the Arab-Israel wars and the USSR supported Egypt both in international arena and in internal affairs. After the change of political course under President Anwar Sadat, relations between the two countries cooled. The improvements began in the midst of 2080s, thanks to the personal involvement of former Egyptian President Hosni Mubarak. Um, Also in 2014, Egyptian President Abdel Fattah al-Sisi visited Russia. Russia became the first country outside the Arab world where the new leader of Egypt arrived. At the talks in Sochi, the parties discussed the trade and economic relations, military technical cooperations, energy issues, and the situation in the Middle East. Both two sides have intensified the work of the joint Russian-Egyptian Intergovernmental Commission on Trade and Economic Cooperation. The next 12th meeting of the Intergovernmental Commission was held on May 23 in 2018 in Moscow. The Russian-Egyptian trade turnover in that year increased by 14% and amounted to about $7.7 billion dollars. Export increased by 14%, reaching 7.1 million dollars. Imports of goods from Egypt compared to previous year increased by 4%. In the field of military technical cooperation, Egypt is one of the Russia's priority partners in 2017. In 17, the Russian Federation won a tender to supply Egypt with a marine version of helicopter. And in October 2018, as the head of the Federal Service of Military Technical Cooperation of the Russian Federation announced that negotiations on retrofitting Mistrals and the supply of helicopters to Egypt are in an active phase. Also, these countries are cooperating in the cultural way. So it's tourism, and despite the situation nowadays with Ukraine and Russia, Egypt didn't stop to uh, cooperate with the Russia in the sphere of tourism. And here you can see the citation. They said it's very important. It's very important that colleagues have expressed their support, are open to cooperation, and the three most popular mass destinations remain available for recreation of our citizens, and our partners will continue to provide safe and comfortable conditions for the stay of Russian tourists, the Federal Tourism Agency of the Egypt noted. The Embassy of Egypt in Russia and the Association of Tour Operators have agreed to regularly exchange information and cooperate on a wide range of issues related to the stay of Russian tourists on vacation in Egypt, correct the coverage of events related to the Russian Egyptian tourists exchange. Thank you for your attention.